The provocation. Commander Elena Kovacs stared at the main view screen of the EFZ observer, her fingers digging into the armrests of her command chair. The battle unfolding before her wasn't supposed to be happening. Not like this. Not to them. They can't do that, her first officer, Marcus Chen, whispered beside her. Those are medical ships. Elena said nothing, her green eyes fixed on the horrific scene. The medical vessels, gleaming white with bright red crescents emblazoned on their hulls, were attempting evasive maneuvers. But they were medical ships, not warships. Their engines weren't designed for combat tactics, their hulls not built to withstand weapons fire. The draconian warships, angular vessels with what humans had come to recognize as their intimidating dragon-scale armor plating, fired again. Another medical ship shattered, its fragments spinning into the void. Emergency escape pods launched in all directions, but to Elena's horror, the Draconians were targeting those too. Record everything, she finally ordered, her voice tight with controlled rage. Every second, every shot. Earth needs to see this. The Observer was a diplomatic vessel stationed at the edge of the conflict zone between the Draconian Empire and the Arcturian Federation. It carried minimal defensive capabilities, but no offensive weapons. Its mission was to observe and report only. Earth had maintained strict neutrality in this conflict, offering humanitarian aid to both sides through the medical corps, doctors, nurses, and medical researchers who treated the wounded without asking which flag they served under. "Commander, they're hailing us," announced Lieutenant Rivera from communications. Elena took a deep breath and straightened her dark blue uniform. On screen, the face that appeared was draconian, scaled skin in shades of deep bronze and emerald, amber eyes with vertical pupils, and a lipless mouth revealing sharp teeth. Admiral Vox of the Draconian Imperial Fleet. "Earth vessel," the Admiral said, his voice a rumbling hiss. "Depart this sector immediately." "Admiral," Elena replied, keeping her voice steady. "You are attacking medical ships protected under Article 7 of the Galactic Compact. These actions constitute war crimes under interstellar law." The Draconian showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. "The Arcturians hide weapons and soldiers on your medical ships. We have evidence." "That's not possible. Our ships undergo independent inspection before." "Your inspectors are corrupt or incompetent," Vox interrupted. "Leave now, or we will consider you combatants as well." The screen went dark. "He's lying," Marcus said. "Our protocols are perfect. The medical corps doesn't even carry defensive weapons." Elena nodded grimly. "Send everything we've recorded back to Earth. Encrypted channel. Priority 1. She watched the final medical ships trying to escape, their engines flaring desperately against the darkness. The Draconian ships pursued without mercy, methodical in their destruction. "Should we try to help the escape pods?" asked Marcus, his voice hollow. Elena closed her eyes briefly. "We have no weapons, minimal medical facilities, and barely enough life support for our own crew. We'd only give the Draconians another target." She hated the words even as she spoke them. "Our duty now is to make sure Earth knows what happened here." 3 days later, Elena stood before the Earth Security Council in Geneva. The chamber was silent as the final minutes of footage played on the main screen. When it ended, no one spoke for several long seconds. "How many survivors?" asked Counselor Lakshmi finally. 34, Elena replied, "out of 973 medical personnel." The council members exchanged glances. Elena had never seen such controlled fury on the faces of Earth's leaders. "Commander Kovacs," said Council President Okafor, "thank you for your report. You are dismissed." Elena hesitated. "If I may ask, what will Earth's response be?" The council members looked at each other again. Something unspoken passed between them. "That will be decided in closed session," President Okafor said carefully. Later that evening, Elena was called to a secure room deep beneath the Geneva complex. Only one person waited for her there, Director Zhao of Special Operations, a tall woman with silver-streaked black hair and eyes that had seen too much. "What I'm about to tell you is classified beyond your clearance level," Zhao said without preamble. "But you've earned the right to know." She activated a holographic display showing an asteroid in the outer solar system. "This is Tartarus Station. For 80 years, Earth has kept its worst war criminals here. People whose methods were too extreme even for Black Ops." Lelina frowned. "I don't understand." "The Council has authorized Protocol Cerberus," Joe continued. "We're offering these criminals a deal. Temporary freedom in exchange for showing the—" "Precisely," said Zhao. "And heaven help the Draconians now." Director Zhao walked through the cold metal hallways of Tartarus Station. Her footsteps echoed against the walls. Guards stood at attention as she passed, their faces showing both respect and fear. "The prisoners are ready," Director said Security Chief Alvarez. Her hand rested on her weapon. "Thank you, Chief. I'll see them now." They stopped before a massive door marked only with the number 7. Behind it waited the 7 most dangerous prisoners in Earth's history. "Are you sure about this, ma'am?" Alvarez asked quietly. "These people, they're monsters." Zhao nodded. "Sometimes you need monsters to fight monsters." The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a circular room with a table in the center. 7 people sat around it, each wearing a silver collar. The neural suppression collars were necessary. These weren't ordinary criminals. Zhao took her place at the head of the table. She placed a small device in the center, and it projected images of the draconian attack on the medical fleet. 3 days ago, she began, the Draconian Empire violated the most sacred law of warfare. They deliberately targeted our medical corps. None of the prisoners showed surprise. They had been locked away, but they understood the rules of war better than most. They had broken enough of them. "I'm here to offer you a choice," Zhao continued. "Continue your life sentences here, or help Earth deliver a message the Draconians will never forget." Dr. Isabella Reyes, a small woman with cold eyes, spoke first. "What exactly are you asking us to do?" "Whatever is necessary, within certain limits." General Karpov, once Earth's most brilliant and ruthless military commander, leaned forward. His face was lined with age, but his eyes remained sharp. "You want us to do your dirty work." "I want you to do what you're good at," Zhao corrected. "What made Earth lock you away in the first place?" Nathaniel Stone, the hacker who had once brought 4 governments to their knees, smiled slightly. "Interesting. What do we get in return?" "Better conditions here when you return. Access to information, books, entertainment, better food, no more solitary confinement." "Not freedom?" asked Carla Diaz, the demolitions expert whose work had leveled entire city blocks. "You know that's impossible," Zhao replied. "Each of you has broken too many laws, hurt too many people. But your lives can be more comfortable, and you'll have the satisfaction of using your talents for a purpose." The 7 prisoners exchanged glances. They didn't trust each other, but they all understood opportunity when they saw it. Commander Jackson, the former Black Ops leader, crossed his arms. "What restrictions?" "No direct killing of civilians," Zhao said. "Beyond that, be creative. Make the Draconians regret what they've done. Make them an example for anyone else who might consider breaking the rules of war." Dr. Victor Nazari, the psychologist who had developed banned mind-altering techniques, studied Zhao carefully. "You're afraid. Not of us, of what happens if Earth does nothing." Zhao nodded slowly. "If we let this pass, medical ships everywhere become targets. The rules that make war slightly less horrific begin to crumble." Maya Lin, the intelligence analyst whose manipulation of data had started a civil war, spoke up. "So we're to be your monsters. The nightmare you unleash when diplomacy fails." "Precisely." "I'm in," said Reyes suddenly. The others looked at her with surprise. She shrugged. "I've been developing theories for years with nothing to test them on." The Draconians just volunteered. One by one, the others agreed. not from patriotism or remorse, but from boredom, curiosity, or simply the desire to practice their dark arts again. Zhao stood. You leave tomorrow. You'll have a ship, resources, and information. The rest is up to you. She turned to leave, then paused. Remember, the goal isn't destruction for its own sake. It's to teach a lesson. Oh, we know all about teaching lessons, Karpov said softly. The Draconians will learn that some lines should never be crossed. After Zhao left, the seven sat in silence for a moment. Then Stone laughed. Did Earth just officially sanction us to terrorize an alien empire? Yes, said Nazari with a small smile. Ironic, isn't it? They locked us away for being too extreme. And now they need exactly what made us dangerous. Rais's eyes gleamed with dark excitement. The Draconians attacked healers because they thought it showed strength. We'll show them what real nightmares look like. That night, each returned to their cells for the last time. Tomorrow, they would be released, not to freedom, but to do what they did best. Earth's darkest secrets. Now its secret weapon, unleashing the monsters. The black ship had no name and no markings. If anyone saw it, they would see only a shadow moving through space. This was exactly what its crew wanted. Inside, 7 people worked in strange harmony. They were not friends. They were not even allies. But they shared a purpose that made them dangerous. Isabella Reyes stood in her new lab, watching tiny organisms grow in clear containers. These were her weapons, microscopic things that could cause fear without killing. She smiled as she adjusted the formula. How long until they're ready? Asked General Karpov from the doorway. The old general had spent 30 years in prison for his war crimes, but he still stood straight and tall. 2 days, she replied without looking up. They'll target the draconian nervous system. Not lethal, but they'll feel like they're burning from the inside. Karpov nodded. Good. Stone has already broken into their communication systems. We can use that to spread panic. In another room, Nathaniel Stone sat surrounded by holographic screens. His fingers moved quickly over the controls as he explored the draconian networks. To him, it was like walking through an open door. The Draconians thought their systems were secure. They were wrong. Look at this, he called to Jackson, who was studying maps of Draconian territory. Their military uses a shared command system. If we get in here, we can make their own ships fire on each other. Jackson's eyes lit up. Can you make it look like an Arcturian hack? Child's play, Stone replied. By the time I'm done, they'll be at each other's throats. The black ship reached Draconian space 3 days after leaving Earth. Its stealth systems were beyond anything the Draconians had ever encountered. It slipped past their border patrols like a ghost. First target, said Karpov, pointing to a small moon on the display. Draco Minor. Military outpost. Minimal civilian presence. Perfect test case, agreed Lin. She had been analyzing Draconian social structures. Their military hierarchy is rigid. If we can create enough confusion there, it will ripple up the chain of command. They struck at night, while most of the base was asleep. Stone infiltrated their computer systems first, disabling alarms and surveillance. Diaz deployed her specialized drones, microscopic machines that sought out and disabled weapons without harming their users. Then Reyes released her creation into the air filtration system. By morning, every Draconian on the base was experiencing what they believed to be the first symptoms of a deadly plague. Their scales felt like they were on fire. Their vision blurred. They could barely stand. Stone broadcast false medical reports showing the disease spreading across Draconian space. Nazari crafted messages designed to trigger maximum fear, playing on ancient Draconian legends about a punishment from their gods. No casualties, reported Jackson as they left the system, but they think they're dying. Phase 1 complete, said Karpov with grim satisfaction. Over the next 2 weeks, they struck 5 more targets. Each time, they left no physical evidence, only fear and chaos. Draconian ships began firing on each other, convinced they were carrying infected crews. Military commanders refused orders, believing their superiors had been compromised. On the 16th day, they reached the Draconian homeworld. "This is where we make our point most clearly," said Lin, studying the beautiful blue-green planet below. "Their high command is there. The admirals who ordered the attack on our medical ships. No civilians," Karpov reminded them. "That was the deal. We don't need to hurt civilians," said Nazari. "We just need to make their leaders understand the consequences of their actions." They waited until the Draconian Imperial Council was in session. All 12 fleet admirals gathered in one place. Then they struck. Stone hijacked every communication device in the council chamber. Screens showed the medical corps ships being destroyed on endless loop. The admiral's neural implants, standard for high-ranking Draconians, began transmitting the exact pain signals that the dying medical personnel had experienced. "Let them feel what our people felt," said Reyes coldly. Outside the council chamber, Diaz's nanobots systematically disabled the entire defense grid of the Draconian capital city. For 6 hours, the most heavily fortified city in the Draconian Empire was completely defenseless, and they knew it. But no attack came, just the knowledge that they were vulnerable. When it was over, the message appeared on every screen in Draconian space, broadcast in their own language. "You attacked those who heal, those who help both sides, those who stand outside of war. You thought it showed strength. We showed you vulnerability. Remember this lesson. If you break the sacred rules again, what comes next will not be a demonstration. It will be an ending." The message was signed, "Humanity's Darkest Angels." 2 days later, the Draconian Emperor sent a message to Earth. A formal apology for the attack on the medical corps ships, reparations for the families of those killed, and most importantly, a solemn vow to uphold Article 7 of the Galactic Compact for all time. The black ship returned to Earth orbit 1 month after it had left. The 7 prisoners were taken back to Tartarus Station, to their promised improved accommodations. They had done what Earth asked of them. They had taught a lesson without a single casualty. Director Zhao met with Alina Kovacs in the same secure room beneath Geneva. "It worked," Zhao said simply. "The Draconians have withdrawn from 3 disputed systems. They've requested Arcturian peace talks with Earth as mediator." "And the medical corps?" Alina asked. "New ships are already being built, with Draconian and Arcturian funding." Alina nodded slowly. "And our darkest angels, back in their cages, where they belong. Was it worth it?" Alina asked. "Using them, becoming what we fear." Zhao looked at her for a long moment. "We didn't become what we fear. We showed the galaxy that we keep our monsters locked away for a reason. That we choose to be better than our worst impulses, but that if pushed, if someone breaks the most sacred rules, we still have those monsters at our disposal." Elena thought about the medical ships, about her colleagues and friends who had died. Will the Draconians keep their word? "They will," Zhao said with certainty, "because now they know what waits in the darkness if they don't." News of what had happened spread quickly through the galaxy. The details were vague. Earth released no official statement beyond acknowledging that the situation with the Draconians had been resolved diplomatically. But rumors spread. Stories of phantom illnesses, of ships turning against each other, of an entire planetary defense system shutting down without explanation. And other stories spread too, of how Earth had responded to an attack on its healers. Not with open war or indiscriminate destruction, but with something more precise, more terrifying. In the years that followed, no medical ship from any species was ever attacked again. The sight of the red crescent on a white hull became a symbol not just of healing, but of a line that no one dared to cross. On Tartarus Station, 7 dangerous minds continued their imprisonment. Their cells were larger now, with access to books and entertainment. Sometimes they thought about what they had done, not with remorse, but with professional satisfaction. A job well done, And sometimes, Director Zhao would visit, just to remind them that Earth remembered both what they had done for humanity and what they had done to be imprisoned in the first place. In her office on the rebuilt Medical Corps flagship Hope, Commander Elena Kovacs kept a small holographic image, the last frame from the recording she had made, showing a medical ship breaking apart under draconian fire, a reminder of why rules of war matter, and of what happens when they're broken. The galaxy had learned a lesson. Healers were sacred, and humanity, for all its ideals of peace and cooperation, had not forgotten how to be dangerous when necessary. Some lines should never be crossed. Earth had made sure everyone remembered why. 5 years later, Elena stood on the observation deck of the Medical Corps' newest flagship, watching as it approached a battle-scarred Draconian cruiser. The war between the Draconians and Arcturians had finally ended, but the damage remained. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Draconian vessel," her communications officer reported. On screen, Elena ordered. The face that appeared was familiar. Admiral Vox, older now, one eye replaced with a cybernetic implant. "Medical Corps vessel," he said formally. "The Imperial cruiser Relentless requests your assistance for our wounded." Elena met his gaze steadily. "Of course, Admiral. That's why we're here. Prepare your docking bay. Our medical teams will board shortly." After the transmission ended, her first officer looked at her curiously. "That's the same Admiral Woe." "Yes," Elena said quietly. "The same one who ordered the attack 5 years ago. And we're still going to help them." Elena nodded. "That's what the Medical Corps does. We help everyone, regardless of what flag they serve under." She paused. "That's the point. That's why we had to teach them that lesson. Not so we could refuse to help them later, but so they would understand why we help at all." As her medical teams prepared to board the Draconian vessel, Elena thought about the 7 prisoners on Tartarus Station, Earth's monsters, locked away again. A reminder of what humanity could become if it abandoned its principles entirely. But today was about a different kind of strength. The strength to heal even those who had once tried to destroy you. The strength to uphold principles, especially when it was difficult. Because in the end, that was humanity's true power, not the darkness it could unleash when provoked, but the light it chose to follow even after the darkness had served its purpose.